the Holy Grail continues, my friends, in Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works. That's right, my friends, the Master Mages and the Weaponized Servants are returning in order to battle for the ultimate prize, the legendary chalice, the Holy Grail. If you guys have not seen Fate Stay Night yet, what the hell is wrong with you? It is kick-ass, balls-to-the-wall, awesome anime action. And I want to go ahead and apologize to my commenters and subscribers who recommended this show to me back in 2014. I knew nothing of Fate Stay Night before I watched this show. I just completely ignored the franchise. But after watching some of the fight scenes on YouTube and hearing people talk about it for so long, I decided to dive right in, and holy crap! It blew my freaking mind. Not only are the action scenes just absolutely amazing, some of the best that I've seen in years, but the story is good, intriguing, the characters are amazing, and have a lot of development. And not only that, but the entire production, not just the action scenes, is super high quality. So if you like action anime, you'd be hard-pressed not to check out this show. And going into this episode right here is pretty interesting because it's not exactly a second season of Fate Stay, so much as it's just a continuation of the first season. So going into this episode, you're not going to get a recap from any of the previous episodes, so if you didn't see the first 12 episodes of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, watch it. It's amazing. Then watch the second season. You have plenty of time. You have the whole week to catch up because we're just here at episode 13 and it's pretty freaking awesome. Later down the line, I might do like a full review on the first 12 episodes or at least a discussion because there's a lot of things I want to talk about. But let's just go ahead and talk about episode 13. So if you guys watched the previous season, you know it didn't exactly end on the best of terms. The main character from the series, Emiya Shiro, who is a mage, actually ended up losing his servant, Saber. She was actually lost to the other servant by the name of Castor. Now, Castor seems like she's going to be one of the main villains in the first half of this arc right here, and I can't wait to see where that's going, especially the developments at the very end of this week's episode. So, Shiro is now all alone. The only thing he can really do is still summon some minor weapons using his Trace-On abilities, and he's still trying to work a little bit more with Archer's blades, which honestly, I think is really awesome. I especially love the fact that this character really still hasn't become like the chosen one type character, but he certainly has a lot at stake here. He wants to learn what really happened in the last Holy Grail War, why his family was killed, why everything was burned to the ground, and Castor might actually have some information that pertains to that. But this week's episode is more about Tosaka Rin and her servant, Archer. Now, Archer's a really interesting character because ever since from the beginning of the series, I always felt that there was something not quite right about this guy. Like, I almost felt like he was going to betray the team at some point. And that kind of happens in this week's episode, although I still believe that Archer is up to something more. I really think there's a reason he's going to the other sides other than the fact that they are more powerful, because there is this really important scene this week where you actually literally get to see Archer basically walking around within his mental consciousness, which takes the form of this massive dusty battleground with gears in the background, swords all over the place. It's pretty awesome, and there's only been so many Holy Grail Wars over the course of time, and we haven't even reached the ones you can count on 10 fingers yet, and Archer is already, like, completely pissed off at mankind because he knows they're not going to change. Nothing is ever going to change for them, so he basically looks down on them in every single way he can, and that's sort of what pushes him to end up working with Castor at the very end of this week's episode. And, of course, this puts Tosaka in a brand new form of desperation because now she no longer has her servant, and now Shiro no longer has his, so now they're really going to be forced to have to work with each other. And I honestly thought Saber was probably going to be able to get out of her little situation in this week's episode. That is not the case. She is still being subjugated by Castor in a very sexually suggestive way, I might add, but it's only a matter of time before she busts out of there. I just really don't want to see Saber as an evil character in this show, especially because we still haven't really gotten to know her all that much. We don't even know her real name yet. I'm really interested to see where that is going, but considering that a lot of these characters are based on historical figures, I kind of have an idea of what her actual name is going to be, but I'm going to save that for another discussion video. What I will say is this week's episode ended very similar to the last, where a lot of the main characters of the series were left without their main powers, and they were sort of like stuck in this awful situation. We also finally get to see Tosaka Rin and Emiya Shiro sort of like proclaim their love for each other. It's more basically Shiro doing it, and Tosaka's completely freaked out by this at first, but then she's very happy that he actually came to save her. It's a very emotional and interesting episode of the series, but really, things are starting to get insane, especially because all the other masters and servants are coming out. I really can't wait to see how this is all going to work and how many people that Castor is actually going to end up bringing over to her side. She could very well be one of the main villains of this arc. I don't know if it's really her pulling most of the strings or if it's her master. It's kind of hard to tell because their actual relationship is very strained, but all I know is I can't wait to see Berserker return because, damn, that guy's freaking awesome, man. So, this was a pretty good episode right here. I was slightly disappointed they didn't try to go the route with the first series, where the first episode was like an hour long, so they give us a little more development, maybe a little more action. But otherwise, this was still another fantastic episode of the series. The intro is just as good as the first. The production value is just as amazing and sexy as the first series. This is just a well-put-together anime. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, it was awesome, just like the rest of the series. This is just a really well done one that's done with a lot of TLC from the creators, and it's obvious that they want to make something really entertaining for the viewers, and that really translated well into the first episode right here, episode 13. I thought it was really good, and I loved that they didn't waste any time. Like, they got right back into the action, they got right back into the story, so it is kind of sucky for people who actually didn't get to watch the previous season, but that technically was only a couple of months ago, so it is somewhat understandable. As far as where the actual series is going, I really can't make any calls on it quite yet. Especially with the fact that we have that character Castor who has multiple servants actually working for him, most of the servants in the story. Maybe some of the other characters that we saw in the first half are going to get involved, and I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about the Berserker servant and his master, who's that one creepy little girl. She almost seems like she has a little more like big major antagonist like plot armor when compared to Castor, but only because she was teased in the first couple of episodes of the series, had an amazingly badass battle with both Archer and with Saber, and then she just sort of disappeared and walked away into the shadows, never to return again until possibly the finale of this show right here. All I know is this was an awesome episode right here. It's got me really excited for the rest of the series, and you should definitely check it out if you are a fan of action anime, and anime with really good production value and great characters. So check this one out, guys. I'm definitely going to be reviewing the rest of the series, and I'm probably going to do a few more discussions for some of the other episodes that I never had a chance to talk about, just because I want to. I want to gush about some of those episodes because they're so freaking awesome. And this one also had some pretty good action too. In particular, the biggest surprising scene for me was from when Shiro just appeared out of nowhere and then he immediately summoned Archer's blades. That was so freaking awesome. He was actually holding his own for a second, and if it wasn't for Archer actually allowing them to leave, they would probably be screwed. And that's just another piece of evidence to show that Archer probably has another plan. I don't know what that's going to be, but hopefully it involves blowing shit up with arrows, because that's freaking awesome. So, I love this episode right here. It didn't quite blow me away because we haven't really gotten into the story quite yet, but again, remember, this isn't like a sequel. This is basically a continuation of the show. This is basically just the next episode, and it was still a really good episode with amazing production value and some really great character moments, especially at the very end when it looks like Shiro and Rin might actually begin to start a relationship. It was actually really interesting how they handled all of that. So I'm really excited, and you should be too, because Fate Stay Night is back, and you should totally check it out. I'm giving this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Check it out, guys. Badass. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before you guys leave, make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Are you excited that the show has returned? Did you see the first 12 episodes? Do you have a favorite master, mage, a servant, a weapon? What do you want to see from the rest of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works? Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Follow us on social media. And as always, guys, thank you for watching, and stay dandy, baby.